Sisters. The Novel. Part 1. Brita. Chapter 1. The Family Album. We were sitting on the sofa, enjoying a nice, calm family evening. Now, as the twins have grown a little, a week ago we celebrated their second birthday, we could afford to have a little rest every now and again, something unthinkable only a few months ago. The babies used to fill every minute of our time, but I kept rejecting Robin's offers to hire a babysitter. I simply wouldn't allow myself to miss 1 second of the little ones' lives. This evening, however, the twins were snoring peacefully in their tiny beds, next to each other, and we were relaxing in our living room, turning pages of the family album, recalling the day of our wedding. We both felt blessed with each other, yet neither of us was religious enough to go to church and say prayers except, perhaps, on Christmas and Easter, so this aspect of the ceremony was reduced to a reasonable minimum. And was compensated fully by the party that took place in the evening. It was long, it was fun, it was something to look forward to and to remember afterwards. Robin's bank account kept rising steadily for the last few years, since he'd become a renowned celebrity reporter, so he could afford to make our wedding the event to remember. He hired the lawn at Hampton Court, one of the most imposing medieval palaces in England. I did protest a little, but my arguments, evidently, weren't too convincing, so he had the upper hand and did what he'd planned to do. The lawn was ours for the whole afternoon, including all paraphernalia that comes with the territory, the tables for 70 guests on the green, the tent specially erected for the unlikely shower, the stock of heavy wooden chairs, and a string quintet, dressed in authentic green and yellow English clothes. The weather was as good as it could be in the Albion in early September, and when the sun started rolling down to the horizon, waiters lit the candles, all 900 of them, fitted into a few dozens of 7-foot-high candelabras. Very, very romantic indeed. And even higher than those exquisite candelabras stood my wonderful sister and the proud me, both wearing 4-inch high heels. As one tabloid put it the morning after, we towered over absolutely everyone and everything, except perhaps the trees. But we can't guarantee that the gorgeous bride and her beautiful sister were as immeasurable as trees themselves. If you're enjoying the story, or even if you're not, please like or dislike it, share, and leave a comment. Positive or negative, they are all welcome. And do visit my page on Patreon, where you'll find new stories as well as the familiar ones. Patreon.com/AlexSteak. Thank you. Mum was there too, as was Dad. It was Robin's first encounter with him, and they made friends at the first glance. Robin told me that night that it was quite a surprise for him to see that his newly obtained father-in-law was not much taller than Robin was himself. "I see it's your family tradition that women marry men half their height," he whispered into my ear. I know this is hard to comprehend, but he's capable of whispering right into my ear, when I allow him to do so. He only needs to stand by the sitting me. "Yes, it is. I hope you don't mind?" I asked. "Not at all. Just wondering how tall will be the man chosen by Christina one day." "We'll see. I only hope it's not Nick." "Why not?" he said. "Still in love with him." "What? Are you jealous?" "Should I be?" "It's for you to decide." "Or is it?" I felt a prick of consciousness. He was not into that kind of jokes any longer. "Come on, Rob, don't you rob me of happiness. It's our wedding day. And I love you. And I love you." He kissed me in the cheek. "I love you more than anyone has or will love anybody." "So you're not jealous?" This time I stated the fact, rather than asked. "Of course not, my little bunny." I don't really like when he calls me bunny, but the adjective little sweetened the pill. It was really cool that he'd call his soon-to-be wife little, even though for that matter, was nearly a meter taller than he was. "This is great," I embraced him tighter. "You don't need to be jealous. My concern is about Nick and Krista. You know how much I care about her. And he likes tall women, the taller the better. Imagine if one day he stumbles upon a girl taller than her. Then Krista might find herself in an unenviable situation. Oh no, Brita, look at them, they're happy. They were indeed. At least, they looked happy. They danced non-stop, with Nick's head resting on Christina's belly. I now envy her a bit because of that nice flat belly of hers. My pregnancy and lack of exercise couldn't have passed unnoticeable, her hands stretching down to his shoulders. They didn't seem to be bothered by anything going on around them, including all the attention their dance attracted. And people did pay attention to them partly because Rob and I didn't dance much that evening. We just enjoyed the company of each other, sipping champagne, gossiping about guests, and building our future. And the guests, a sizable majority of them, at least, were polite enough not to manifest their inevitable curiosity over Krista's or my own height. Time after time, however, indulged with music and drinks, some of them would lose control and giggle quietly, or get involved into a chat while pointing their fingers at us. Apart from my family and a few beautiful girls, my former colleagues, nearly all other guests were Robin's friends, most of whom had never seen me, let alone my sister. Some of them had skipped the church do, and it was funny to watch their amazement grow steadily and reach climax at some point. One or two of them were late for the party. The traffic's terrible, lads, you know, or sorry, I could barely tear myself off the editor's office, and upon their arrival they were met by my mum, who, at 6'4", isn't a short woman, yet for the occasion she added some 4-inch high heels to her frame, same as Krista and I. After shaking my mom's hand, they were greeted by Robin and me and found themselves in a bizarre situation, not being able to follow the etiquette and peck me in the cheek unless I bent down for them, that's it. And after that, with their mouths still wide open, they would turn around to say hello to others only to gasp again at my little sister. She'd grown a bit since her last visit to London, and was now only an inch or two shorter than me. People would just stare at her, almost openly checking her height against Nick, who stood a mere 5'8" with his thick-soled boots on. "What, are you fed with something special in your country?" inquired one gentleman. He looked every bit a successful banker, short, fat, bald. He was standing in front of Krista, with his thick neck craned up to the point of breakage, holding her right hand for a kiss. "You must have studied history at school," said another one. He was considerably taller, his head went all the way up to Krista's tummy. "They've always been tall in Scandinavia. Ever heard of the Vikings?" The short one finally managed to kiss Krista's hand, and turned around, allowing her to straighten up. "For your information, Roger, the Vikings were Norwegians, not Swedes. Though it's not important for your playwriting, is it?" And he chuckled, satisfied. "All right, gentlemen, stop arguing if you will," the third man intervened. This one looked like a textbook university professor, long gray hair, a goatee, and the bicycle-shaped glasses in a metal frame. "Shall we raise a glass to peace?" The short one, however, preferred to ignore the life-buoy generously thrown to him. He turned to my mum and said, "I might be wrong about the Vikings, but what I'm sure of is there was a tribe called the Amazons, and it was solely formed of big, strong women. They would capture weak, little men, to make them husbands for a night, and get rid of them the morning after. Are you and your daughters members of that tribe, my lady?" My mother doesn't speak English that much. I thought it was about time to put an end to his abusive speeches, and kick his short fat arse. "And as far as I'm concerned, you confuse the Amazons to black widows. They are spiders, by the way, not human beings. As for our family, well, we're not the Amazons, but right now we're setting up a brand new tribe where nasty people, men and women alike, will not be welcome. Especially if they're smaller than 7 feet in height." Robin contributed to my act as well. He gave the lout such a look that he just evaporated. I didn't see him anywhere for the rest of the party. I hope he went to the woods and died. By that time Robin and I had got so used to our height difference that we found it thrilling rather than anything else, and in any other circumstances we wouldn't mind being gawked at. I'm not stupid. I realized pretty well that for the vast majority of our guests my height, or my sister's tallness, was something they'd never dealt with before, and quite understandably, were stunned, if not shocked, to see two women towering above them so much. But all of them, saved for that little villain, managed to behave somehow, and didn't try to make their amazement too obvious. As time went by, the guests grew more or less reconciled with our presence, and the most courageous of them would even ask me for a dance. My mum wasn't abandoned either. She attracted a lot of attention from the middle-aged gentlemen, tall, short, and average. But Christina was, of course, the most desirable target of us all. Young and gorgeous, she enjoyed much more freedom at the party than I did. I was bride, after all, with plenty of ceremonial obligations. And she was a girl from a quiet, enigmatic Nordic country, alien to all the fuss of the vibrant London environment, and seemed to be feeling a little awkward accepting all those compliments and invitations, so she preferred to stick with Nick, rather than dance with others. You know, I think they're the next in the queue to the altar. Robin, all of a sudden, brought me back to reality, pointing at one of the photographs in the album. Who knows, dear, I wasn't that sure. I don't think Nick is loyal enough and deserves her. Well, my love, as you rightly put it 20 minutes ago, the biggest attraction in women for him is their height, he said thoughtfully. If this is the case, and I'm sure it is, then he's got little choice. The only girl taller than Christina is you, but you're mine. He chuckled and pulled me closer. I loved it. And your sister may still be growing, so he must be more than happy with her. That is the problem, precisely, I said. I'm not sure he sees anything in a tall girl except for her height. But this is not what a girl expects from her boyfriend. Especially if he wants to become her husband one day. Do you mean Christina may dump him? Are there other candidates around? What do you know that I don't? I know exactly what you do, I shrugged. I don't have secrets that I wouldn't share with you, and you know that. I can't even say I know my sister's tastes that well. It's been a long time since we talked to each other about matters like this, you know. Well, I see. All right then, how about another cookie? I'd love one, thank you. And then the telephone rang. But not before you pick up the phone, he said. Oh no, I can't stand it anymore. To be continued. If you're enjoying the story, or even if you're not, please like or dislike it, share, and leave a comment. Positive or negative, they are all welcome. And do visit my page on Patreon, where you'll find new stories as well as the familiar ones. Patreon.com/Alex Steak. Thank you.